For Flynn.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and don't you just love it when the Whip's office rings you up and says, can you do an adjournment speech, and gives you 5 minutes notice. But anyway, it's called running the political ball up, and I'm quite prepared to do that. And the subject I'm thinking about that I'd like to make some comment on is the recent announcements in respect to Tomago alumina smelter at Newcastle, how that might affect the alumina sector in Gladstone. Now, as you know, I represent the Flynn electorate in central Queensland, which is Gladstone and the wider central Queensland area. Gladstone is obviously the big port there, the largest multi-commodity shipping port in Australia. We have the CSG gas industry at Curtis Island, the two alumina refineries and the alumina smelter, Rio Tinto. We have the Gladstone NRG power station, two other coal-fired power stations, the largest cement kiln in Australia, Australia Cement. And these announcements recently in respect to the closure of Tomago, that will also wash through and possibly affect the goings-on of the alumina sector in Gladstone. Rio Tinto, as you know, has recently flagged the possible closure of NRG Gladstone Power Station. And under the AEMO guidelines, they have to flag this 3.5 years out before this possible closure. And the big question is, what does that mean for all of this heavy industry that goes on in central Queensland? Now, we know AGL has got a 42% stake in that power station, and they have had that advertised for sale for some time. We also know that they have written off their assets to the tune of $1.4 billion a couple of years ago. Which all points to the question of how will the alumina sector and particularly the smelter in Gladstone survive, given the fact that they have now flagged the closure of Tomago in New South Wales. Now, this all revolves around the whole renewable energy argument, the whole net zero argument and the cost of energy. And it is the cost of energy that is the principal driver behind the closure of these huge industrial precincts and the loss of thousands of jobs, particularly in Newcastle with the forecast closure of Tomago. And I ask the question, is the same thing going to happen in Queensland at Gladstone with the alumina sector and all of the other heavy industries that rely on reliable energy and affordable energy? Now, one of the problems with all of this is the whole push to renewable energy. In the Flynn electorate, I'm dealing with 96 renewable energy projects of various kinds, and they are in various stages of getting their approvals and so forth. But the biggest problem they have is that many of the projects do not have financial closure. And the reason that they don't have financial closure is because the proponents cannot guarantee these investors of a minimum return for their investment. Many of the proponents I've spoken to are looking at a 10 to 15% minimum net return on their investment. So, for an example, if it is a $1 billion project, they're looking for 10% return, $100 million a year. Now, the proponents are busily trying to get the investors to sign up and commit the money, but the investors won't do that because they're not guaranteed of this return. And that is why the government has invented the capacity investment scheme, where the Australian taxpayer will be asked to underwrite a minimum profitability for these projects. Now, the problem I've got with that is that we don't know what that's going to cost. Now, if you go into the forward estimates in the budget, that's restricted information, and I think Australians deserve to know exactly what they're signing up for in respect to the capacity investment scheme. Now, the other issue is that many of these renewable energy projects, if and when they are built, they are all predicated on offtake agreements. So the offtake agreements involve the big energy users, and particularly places like Rio Tinto's smelter in Gladstone. Now, with the closure or the possible flag closure of Gladstone Power Station, how can the renewable energy sector, and the AEMO for that matter, guarantee a reliable source of energy for that smelter? And there are thousands of jobs at stake here, and what we need is somebody to answer these questions and guarantee their jobs.
I call the member for Chisholm.